Hello and welcome to Katrina's Creations. This is a special little Wednesday segment. I thought it would be interesting to show you some things I found in my mother's knitting machine materials. She recently gifted me her knitting machine, and inside were some knitting machine magazines, but there was also some other patterns that were hand knitted and hand crocheted from actually before, some of them are from before I was born. So I thought it would be fun to look at some vintage patterns and see how styles have changed and how they've stayed the same over the years. So let's get started. The first ones I'm going to show you are some of the oldest ones, and they are knitted patterns. They were like little booklets that came out, and they were put out by Columbia Minerva. They were 25 cents. They were called the Supersonics, and apparently they are, just from what I can tell from looking through the patterns themselves and looking at the pictures, they were super bulky yarns. So it even says, get your fashion's newest rage. These hand knits will fly off your fingers with supersonic speed. So these are probably from the early to mid 60s, I'm guessing. So here we go. Here's what the folder looked like all together. And now we'll take a close-up of these pictures. Here's the first one. I just love the hairstyle. As you can see, they are super chunky knits. And there is the other pattern. Then we have these on the back. And there's the final one in that booklet. This one I think is my favorite. Yeah, Peter Pan on steroids. Yes, do we like the colored tights? Yes, there we go. This reminds me of something that if you remember the show That Girl, that's what it reminds me she would wear. And then we have a few to choose from on the back. That's what the whole thing looked like. And there we go. I could never wear something like this. I'd look like a sausage being stuffed into the casings. That just would never work for me. But again, we've got the colored yellow tights. Then we have the last of the Supersonics, and I'm not quite sure what they thought about posing back then, but that's quite attractive. But here we go. There's the first one. And here is the second one on the page. This one actually isn't bad, but I would not wear it with pink leggings. Then we have some patterns on the back. Now we have one that I've run across. This is put out by Coates and Clark, and it was 16 designs in wool by Red Heart, and at the time it was put out, it cost 29 cents. And I'm looking to see, some of this is, it looks like we have knit and crochet patterns in this book. There's both. So we have 3 ladies here. And then on the back, We have some slippers and some type of a hood. And the slippers over here. And then we have this poor hat that you're going to stick on a child. I actually remember having a rabbit fur hat that did one of those things, and it hung down, and it was sort of like an envelope, but it was furry, and it had a little piece of yarn that hung down with a big puffy rabbit tail on the end, like a big puffy pom-pom that hung on the back. And then it had ties around the front, and they had pom-poms on the end too, and it was all white and furry. Now we move on to some crochet patterns, and this yarn that was used in these patterns was the Dazzle Air. If you remember that from the early 70s, late 60s, I remember my mother having some of it. It was like what we have sparkle yarn now. It was similar to that, but here it is. But yeah, there it is. Yeah, I know we all want to wear this. Yes, but I thought it was funny. Now we actually run into a couple patterns that I actually like. There's two here. They look like they're maybe from the 80s. They are both, I believe, crochet patterns. This one I actually do like. And it's kind of timeless and classic in its style. So there's a pattern for that. And then on the back is a pattern for a hat and scarf. And then this one I actually like the pattern as well. I'll move that up. This is also crocheted. And these books are called Knit and Crochet Style from Simplicity. And they actually were pretty clever because they tell you how to do the stitch. They have it like drawn out for you. But there's also some other pretty patterns in here. This one I really do like. There's this pattern, and then on the back is this one. So these two patterns, yeah, I like the ones that are in those two pattern books. Then we get to a group of, I have a whole bundle of these. I'm not going to show all of them to you, but these were machine knit, and these are from the early 90s because my mother got her knitting machine, I think in 1992 or 1993, somewhere around there. So she got some of these pattern books for a couple of years. But I thought I would show you some of the more vintagey ones. First, we have a Christmas sweater. Now, because we're coming up on St. Patrick's Day, I thought everyone would appreciate this. I don't think Dave will be wearing this year. Now there's a couple that I actually really like that are, again, on the timeless side. They almost remind me of something that Alice Starmore, who was a very famous knitwear designer, would come up with because she did a lot of intricate patterns. This one I actually like a lot. This one is definite late 80s. And then this one is kind of cool. I don't know that it's for me. It's not a knitwear. It is actually a tree skirt, but it's done on a knitting machine. So that I thought was kind of neat with all the poinsettias on it. So like I said, I've got a stack, but I won't bore you showing all of those to you. I just picked out some of the highlights of ones that I thought were kind of interesting, some that showed how some styles have not changed a whole lot. Those little books, like I said, the ones I really liked, those are pretty much contemporary to today. But then there's the other ones like Peter Pan on steroids that's definitely from the 60s, like the Twiggy era. When if you're younger and you don't know who Twiggy was, she was a model and she was like, yeah, pretty much straight all the way around. And yeah, so a lot of fashions back then were the mini skirts and no shape. They just were straight. They were not meant for anyone with kind of like curves or anything like that. That was just very much the style back then, and that's what you see reflected in some of those patterns as well. So I hope you have enjoyed this little walk down memory lane, and I will see you again on Saturday. Thanks for watching.